So speaking of being right, we've got somebody that knows a whole lot about real estate, a whole lot about what's going on in all these fancy organizations because she's a member, a board member, a officer, a mucky muck, they call it, in all these
Yeah,
different
I'm a mucky muck.
organizations.
Yeah, I'm a
A
I'm a
big,
local, state, and national mucky muck.
exactly. See
I
that?
guess.
So we got royalty on Ron Siegel Radio.
I don't know about that.
Lisa Dunn is with us. I guess you've been out running around all over the world to all these different organizations.
And I sell houses, and
you sell houses,
and I run a brokerage with my business partner, who also is involved in all this crazy stuff like I am. But the cool thing
Anything
is,
happened other than Halloween this last year?
oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we celebrated my birthday
Okay.
by having the NAR settlement come out that day. And I was on my way to jump out of a plane.
With or without a parachute?
Yeah, I was debating whether I needed the parachute after the news came out.
I would imagine.
Yeah, it was some big stuff. And, it's really kind of amazing what one class action lawyer with two homeowners to sign on, the havoc that they can wreak in an industry. While I believe he's out buying his third jet, and all of the class action plaintiffs that were homeowners that claim that they lost tens of thousands of dollars due to the supposed misdeeds of realtors. They're going to each get $60.
Oh, it's gone up again.
I think so.
Last number I heard was 13. So
you know what? 13, 60. Don't spend it all in one place. I don't think that's going to be your down payment for your next house.
I don't think you can even go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal anymore for that.
No, you can't. So, we've had a lot of stuff.
Now, wait a second. I'm not a realtor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a real estate license,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not qualified to use it. Well, of course, then most real estate agents aren't either.
I'm not going to argue that. And the bulk of the real estate agents out there don't do any business.
Right.
About 50%, 55% of the realtors don't do any business. That's not talking about licensees.
Which is, I'm not a realtor, I'm a licensee.
Yeah, and licensees do even less business.
Correct.
So, they're not one and the same. You have to have a license to be a realtor, but you don't have to be a realtor if you're a licensee.
So with this great job and I speak facetiously, that the attorneys did for the National Association of Realtors, is there a reason that people want to be a realtor anymore?
There's a lot more to it than just, oh my God, we're part of some big organization that's taking our money. And actually, the value that an agent gets for being a realtor is, 10 times more than what you pay. This is all the advocacy work that goes on to be sure that a homeowner is able to have any sort of mortgage interest deduction. You can thank a realtor for that. The fact that, we fight for independent contractor laws so we can all do business as independent contractors.
Wait. You do business as independent contractors, but you collude with what, 1.5 million people to come up with the same exact price.
And that's the part that really drives me crazy because.
Well, no, wait a second.
Well, there's a lot of things that drive me crazy, but
I've known you a long time, Lisa.
Yeah, I know.
Way before this.
But you can tell by the look on my face, this is really getting to me. The NAR research team during, every year, in fact, this year I'm the chair of the National Association of Realtors Research Committee, where we actually decide what we're going to go out and survey, what information we're going to find. And one of the things that they did on one of their broker surveys, was find out what your typical brokerage is. Now, you hear, from the lawsuit, you got all these big names, and I'm not going to say who they are just because who knows what's going to get anybody in trouble anymore. But, you have all these big companies. So you think all of the realtors are working for all these big companies. But the average real estate brokerage in this country is one independent office with 3 agents.
Really?
So our ability to be independent contractors, and every realtor, you can't say every realtor, your team leaders, your independent realtors, we are our own business. I am personally incorporated myself. However, I am part of a brokerage. My paychecks come into my corporate account. I am your quintessential small business, one person. How they think that 1.5 million of us sat around and did price fixing.
It's just
Beats the
crazy.
daylights out of me.
And that's why I say that the attorneys did such a wonderful job
No,
representing.
they found a jury that was predominantly renters that have never bought a home. And you know what? I wasn't in the courtroom. The class action attorney was smart, brought it to a federal court instead of a state court. So it's federal. You know, we were all sitting there going, this happened in Missouri. How can this affect us? Because it was filed in a federal court. So we had a settlement reached, you know, after the guilty verdict came in, and that, you know, they wanted to appeal it, but you would have to post a bond of up to 3 times the amount of the amount, because of the fact it was a class
So it
action.
was a little over $5 billion.
Just a couple of bucks. And so it was like, well, that's not feasible. And so we went to settle. And as a director, as an NAR director, I have no idea what exactly took place. They have attorneys that do this, that, and the other thing. And they claim they did the best that they could to keep us going. So the settlement makes us change the way that we're doing business, not just here in California, but across the country. And it's important to note that every state does business different. There's things that go on in North Carolina that if that was happening in California, we'd all be screaming.
Heck, there's things that are different in Northern California versus Southern California.
You get into Central California and they're really confused.
Great. We're going to continue this conversation with Lisa Dunn when we come back. Continuing our conversation, Lisa Dunn is with us this morning. So, you know, it's not only that I say that she's a great real estate agent. Apparently, some of her colleagues feel the same because they put her on all these boards of the California Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors and the International Worldwide I don't know.
Well, you know, the nice thing is the positions I hold are very different. It's not like I'm just categorized in one spot. At a local level, I'm working on member inclusion and fair housing. State level, I'm working on common interest development issues.
You're going to love this one, Lisa, because I had a real estate agent come into my office recently, and he made a comment, and he's I don't know the right way, so I'm just going to say what I say. He's black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, love the guy, and he has a client that said to him, and the client is elderly,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows that her days are numbered, and she said, you know, I want to make sure that it gets into my trust that when I pass, my house is only sold to a black person. I said that may pose a little bit of legal
do
problems.
that on a fair housing basis. Yeah, you know, you can't really do that. You can't specify any.
We had to explain that because she wanted to make sure, and I can understand how you want to help your community grow and things, but
you can't
gotta follow the law.
You just cannot do that. In fact, in every contract in California, we have a fair housing and discrimination advisory that is a 2-page document that explains who are the protected classes. And it's not just, you know, race and religion and sexual orientation. It goes down a lot deeper. Veterans are a protected class.
I think everybody's a protected class, aren't they?
Well, technically it could boil down to that.
Except white males.
Well, I'm sure that there's a way that we can figure out that too, you know. But, you know, you just have to be very careful. But the form basically outlines, these are your protected classes. These are forms of discrimination. Here's best practices, blah, blah, blah. So if somebody finds themselves in that position with a client that says, well, and I've been there. This is like, I'm sorry, I don't want to sell to any black or brown people. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't have a choice. All money is green.
Right.
You know, and
well, the one I laugh about, now I don't know if you guys have this on the real estate side, leading a lending team, you know, the mortgage application
mm-hmm.
has a section on there. What is your gender? They only give you 2 options, sorry. And what is your race? What is your ethnicity? But you got to collect all this data, and they make the loan officer, if you're doing a face-to-face application, you have to make an assumption, right? I've got to assume that Lisa's a white female, right?
Which is funny because I'm mixed race.
Right, but
you can't tell by looking at me.
Yeah, but the irony is you can't use it for anything, but you got to collect the data.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I think that that's ridiculous, you know, and the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory, a group of us, I was one of 5 people that proposed it to the executive officers at the California Association of Realtors, because we only had one line in our contract saying that we were equal opportunity housing providers, period. And it's like, I think we need a little bit more than that. So, I've done a lot of work on that, on the CID issues here on the state.
Wait, back up. CID.
Common interest development.
Okay.
All of your, shall we say, condo projects that maybe are having problems right now with balcony inspection rules and being underinsured.
How about getting insurance?
Yeah, and all of that kind of stuff. And we're doing a lot of work in that area as well. There's so much to do. I mean, so much to do. And then on a national level, I'm on the research committee. You quoted an NAR comment in your last piece. That's the people that I work with on a national level, and I do sell houses. And
so you're bringing all that experience and that real-time data.
Well, you got to know what the heck's going on, because you're mentioning, your agent needs to have a marketing strategy. You need to know the days on the market. Well, because on August 17th, they're going to need to know a hell of a lot more than that.
Okay, so what's happening August 17th?
Well, remember that date I told you on March 15th when we got the settlement? There's certain terms that we have to follow as part of this lawsuit settlement. It's not a law. If somebody tells you it's a law, it's not a law. If you're a realtor, who we have to operate at a higher ethical standard than a real estate licensee. We are held to a higher standard.
Or supposed to be.
Well, we have grievance hearings and stuff. We have our own little court system, shall we say. And, so we are held to a higher standard. So,
which I kind of chuckle sometimes when I hear you say that, Lisa, because I know that one of your favorite news channels would probably be Fox News. And
don't even get me going on what Kellyanne Conway said last night at an event I was at that I heard with my own two ears, but continue.
So the National Association of Realtors, in all their wisdom, sells this little website, realtor.com.
Oh, that's
to Rupert Murdoch.
That's just ridiculous old news. But
something, it is old news, you're right, but I would venture to guess 90% of the real estate realtors don't know that.
Oh, no, we do. I mean, if you're engaged. Yeah. But,
I bet 90% don't.
And the biggest problem is there's so many agents out there that are not engaged. They're getting their information off of some wacky YouTube thing or whatever. The sky is falling people that we're all houses are going to get foreclosed on. And it's like, no, that's not happening. But you've got to really know what's going on, because what's going to happen on August 17th, which is the day that all the little postcards for the class action suit get mailed out. And it's kind of weird that that's the day that everything changes, because the settlement is not final yet. It's just, that's the day.
Which the irony is, I wonder, just throwing this out there, because I am a conspiracy theorist, or not a conspiracy theorist, a contrarian.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't see your tinfoil hat sitting here somewhere.
I'm a contrarian.
You hit it well today.
So the judge, from what I remember, said that they're going to finalize the decision or the settlement in mid-November.
Yeah.
Will there be any effect to it if there's a change in leadership from the election?
No, zero. This is completely independent of what happens. Our problem is, well, let me backtrack a little bit, because
we're going to do the backtrack when we get back. Continue our conversation with Lisa Dunn. We are chatting with her about August 17th, changes in what's going on in this marketplace. Go on with your thought there, Lisa.
Well, this is something that's going to be really important for the current and future home buyers and home sellers, is how business is going to be done in the country. Now, we all know when you're going to sell a home, you have an agent come over, they do a listing presentation. If you like what you hear, you sign a listing agreement with that person. You discuss what fees you wish to pay. The fees have always been and will continue to be negotiable. Regardless what you see out there, what you hear out there, the fees have always been negotiable. You don't ask, you don't get. So as a smart home seller and a smart home buyer, ask.
Sure.
Negotiate those fees. You could do it. You always have been able to do it. And that was a common misconception. Everybody thinks we all sit around and collude what fees are. You know what I mean? In many law schools, I have heard that attorneys sit around and collude on what they're going to get paid. I hear that. I cannot say that's fact, but I have heard that. So you can negotiate as a home buyer or a home seller. So you sign a contract to sell your house. Well, now what you're going to do is if you're going to buy a house, you are going to be signing a contract with a realtor to represent you to buy a property. Everybody thinks it's really super easy to go out and buy a house. What, I can just go online and go find this house and say, "Hi, I want to buy it." It doesn't happen that way.
Sure.
You got to be sure that you have a good lender that knows what they're doing and has reviewed your credit and has done a deep dive in your credit. Just not oh yeah, sure, you look great, go buy a house.
Right.
So you get your loan denied, because you didn't tell the truth or you didn't think
after you spent hundreds of dollars for your inspection,
all of your
appraisal,
inspections, all of the inspections that you need to do. Finding insurance coverage, which in this market right now is close to impossible in many areas. Making those smart decisions on, what do you do? What is the right price? How are you going to go in and negotiate? There's so much more to negotiate.
It's easy to find the house. I'll submit it is easy to find the house.
You can go find a house all you want. Number one, go try to get in it.
Right.
Because now to go see a house effective August 17th, you're going to have an agreement signed with a realtor to go see a house. And if you go to an open house, you are going to have to sign in at that open house, whether you have a realtor or not. If you don't, that agent there can ask if you want representation. It's up to you to say, yes, I do, no, I don't. If you don't, you still have to sign saying, I do not want representation. This isn't because we want to do it. This is because of the settlement structure, because of this class action suit.
Where some of the implementation processes are coming from the settlement.
Yes.
And there's going to be a lot more work for agents, and you have to have a lot more clerical at every open house.
Absolutely. And the consumers aren't going to know this. You're going to walk into an open house and say, I'm not going to sign my name. Well, if you want to get in and see the house, you're going to have to. Well, I'm just going to go to the next open house. Guess what? If you want to see this house, you're going to have to sign your name. I don't want to do that. Well, if you keep saying I don't want to do that, guess how many houses you're going to see?
What happens if I sign in Mickey Mouse?
I don't think that's going to fly anymore.
Okay.
Technically, would you let somebody in your house that you didn't have any idea who they were?
Well, I've done it so many times. Yeah. I mean, because I've opened the house up based for a realtor.
Yeah.
And, so I've had a listing agreement with them.
But I mean, I'm just talking about you as Joe homeowner, and somebody comes knocks on your door. You get, maybe like some ID or something like that. Is that unreasonable to ask for ID?
We're not used to it though, Lisa.
We're not used to any of this.
Yeah.
And this is where the consumer is going to be greatly affected, because everything that we took for granted, it's all going to change. And really, it's not so bad, because when you think about a seller having representation, that's not a shock. It's, you contract with the person and say, I'm going to pay you X, whatever it is you negotiate. Now you're going to have to do that as a buyer. It's going to be more of a serious transaction, because now you're in a contract with somebody to professionally represent you with fiduciary duties.
So let me ask you this, because I was listening to one of the larger coaches in the country, real estate coaches, and he was basically saying, the listing agent should still be promoting a buyer's agent commission of some sort, just because it's going to help the consumer get a higher price for their property.
Absolutely. If you're sitting there saying, I don't have to pay, so I won't, you just reduce your pool of prospective buyers. And guess what? Those ones that are going to come in unrepresented, you go have some fun, because I'm going to predict in 2 to 3 years, we're going to have so many lawsuits from people. Well, I thought I was represented. And it's like, you know what? You signed a non-agency representation form. So, it's going to get ugly.
I would love to see what my greatest joy, because I am a contrarian, is if we can get to, maybe a year from now, they go and they sue these lawyers who got involved in this class action suit that really
love to be one of the people that did that,
because they've really disrupted a whole industry. They've taken away the transparency.
The reason why we had the things that we have today, including buyer agent compensation in the multiple listing service. So, you put out there, I will pay a buyer's agent whatever it is to bring a buyer to this property. If we close escrow, then you get paid.
Right.
And that can be any amount you want. You can
Well, I've
put,
seen it as low as some of the MLS systems and multiple listing services won't allow zero.
they will allow zero.
But
they've changed that.
yeah,
But you could
but they
put
have been
in
putting a dollar.
you could put in $1.
Right,
You
so it's
could
close enough. It
yeah,
was just a way of getting around that
Yeah.
system.
So, we have all
And then
of
we've
that.
talked about on Ron Siegel Radio many times that I'm a big proponent of paying the buyer's agent 4%.
You know what? You can pay them whatever you want.
I want to get more people there.
Yeah, you want to get people to see your house. The more people it's exposed to, the greater the pool of buyers is, and you're going to have the competition.
We're gonna have you come back and explain more of this, Lisa,
I'll talk about
because there's
consumer protection side of this.
yeah, we need to talk about the consumer. We're gonna make a note right here: consumer protection with Lisa Dunn
And DOJ. We got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. I'll come back soon.
Good.